If you asked me years ago how I was feeling or how I was, I'd have said the exact same thing to you. I'm fine, without even thinking about it. And I always remember years ago when I shared my story online about my struggles with addiction, specifically gambling. My friend who I went through the Marines with, Willie, reached out to me on WhatsApp. We spent quite a lot of time together, daily. And he says, mate, honestly, I can't believe I've just watched your video on Facebook about gambling and all that. He says, I would have never have known you were struggling. You should have just said, because and he says, the best it is, you looked absolutely fine. And you know, he was 1,000,000% correct. I did look fine, because that's what fine looked like on me, which was coping. And when I started my healing journey around about 30, and I started to uncover the different aspects of myself, I quickly realised where looking fine stemmed from. And it stemmed from a way back when I was 8-year-old, sitting on a sofa, waiting on my dad to show up and take myself and my brother out for the day. And it was a wee bit unpredictable. I'd say 70% of the time he wouldn't show up, and 30% of the time he would show up. And at this day, he never showed up. And I think that was the point where my mother, she cracked, to be honest. She's like, right, I've had enough of this. He's too unreliable, and I'm not putting you through it, Stuart. She says, I'm not putting you through it, Stuart. I don't know what was happening with my brother, but I always remember it was just me. And she's like, right, on out of the kitchen. So I'm out of the kitchen where she sat me up in the dryer, and she says, right, that's it. We ain't got to see your dad again. He's too unreliable, too unpredictable. I'm not putting you through it. And I just looked up to her like, 8-year-old man. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel. I was feeling a wee bit numb, to be honest. And then that was probably the point. I was like, right, this is where you just learn to get on with it. And I like to describe my childhood, and the majority of our childhoods here, as old John, is it John Wayne Western, the good, or Clint Eastwood, I'll say, Clint Eastwood, it is, get it right, sure, is the good, the bad and the ugly. With the good parts, with the bad parts, and with the ugly parts that shape us, obviously, and have an impact on us emotionally when it comes to making choices as an adult. And I learned survival pretty young when it comes to emotions. Obviously my dad left at 8 and I never ever seen him again. He passed away when I was 19. His replacement came in, who was a bit of a bully. His method of discipline was lifting his hands. And when my nervous system really shut down to protect me was when I was 15. And my mother was going through a mental breakdown. And for any of you who have experienced a mental breakdown, or you've been in the company and gone through someone who has, you'll know it's not an overnight occurrence. It's not just boom, they wake up and that's it, the switch is flipped. It's years and years of unpredictability, unstable behaviours, choices that you're like, wow. And at this point, my mother just completely flipped. I didn't recognise her, didn't recognise who she was. I was like, wow, what the hell is going on? And I just sat on the staircase, just crying my eyes out. Man. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And that was the point. From then onwards, I was like, right, I do this alone. I shut down then. Because back then, all I was needing was probably an adult to put their arm around me and go, it's all right, son. You're safe. You are safe. And that quickly showed up for me in the form of addiction. At 14, I started betting heavily. I say heavily. maybe not heavily, but as heavily as gambling could be, because heavily means all the money you've got in it, whether it's 10 quid pocket money or a couple of grand a month on your monthly wages getting spent in bookies. My gambling addiction did start harmless, to be honest, really harmless. We used to play a game in school called Chippy. We'd throw the 10 pences at the wall, and whoever got closest to the wall would collect all the money and win all the money. And that's when the escapism started, the adrenaline, the buzz, like, wow, this is taking me to places that that feel good, that feel euphoric, that feel not the normal feelings that you experience on a daily basis, the loneliness, the anger, the frustration. It was giving me that buzz. Obviously that buzz would quickly wear off to shame and guilt and whatever it may be. But gambling is where I learned to cope with my emotions, cope with daily life. And such a powerful addiction has obviously catastrophic consequences on you, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, of course relationships, etc. So the cost, not just the cost of the addiction, but the cost of me pretending that everything was alright underneath, was the relationship with myself, my self-worth, my self-esteem, especially with gambling or any type of addiction. Anyone will resonate with this. For me, gambling is, well, how I know the devil is real, to be honest. How I know the damn devil is real, because my heart and my soul would say, Stuart, stop hurting yourself. Stop gambling. It's not doing anything for you. You're just causing yourself pain and destruction and shame and guilt, and you're doing things that you're not proud of. But my head up here was like, it would override all logic, and it'd go, let's go put this bet on, let's go and cause destruction. And in that destructive period when I was gambling, was escape. Felt good. Felt as I'd escaped my head, my emotions, my body. And that cost me things like, the relationship with myself. I hated myself. Hated looking in the mirror. Constantly shaming myself. Done things that, gambling that I was not proud of. This is how bad my gambling was. I was stealing fivers, tenors, 20 quid notes off of my mother's laptops at 14, 15, 16 to get down to the roulette machines in Wally Hill and put them in. That's how chronic it was at that early age. And it cost me all my romantic relationships through my 20s, my teens. I always remember my first, call it attachment, but we call it first love. Back then, I thought it was love, but I didn't know how to love because I didn't love myself. I was a wounded boy. When attachment get close, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I was anxious, I was distant, I was doing things like you couldn't even imagine. Like my first love, I got her name tattooed on my arm. I think I was shit scared that she was going to leave me. I think that was the abandonment for my dad kicking in at 8 years of age. And then every other relationship past that one's in my 20s, were the exact same. They wouldn't last any longer than 6 to 12 months because every time love got close to me, I would push it away. I would sabotage it through my own destructive behaviours, to be honest. So in my 20s, I didn't really know how to be steady. Only knew intensity, overwhelm or distant. And And that's what happened, to be honest. Being fine, it just kept me alive. But what it cost me was connection with myself and connection with others.